There have been a lot of discussions recently about NIL in college football and how it's impacting recruiting and the transfer portal. We've recently heard Jimbo Fisher and Nick Saban go back and forth over the issue. Another SEC coach decided to throw in their 2 cents, as Ole Miss coach Lane Kiffin opened up and shared his thoughts on NIL and the path college football is heading towards. Before we get to today's video, make sure to smash that subscribe button and turn on those notifications if you're new to my channel. If you're watching this video, odds are you're a college football fan. And odds are you aren't subscribed to my channel, so make sure to join one of the best college football communities here on YouTube. Also, if you could take a second and drop a like on this video, I would greatly appreciate it as well. It helps out with that really confusing YouTube algorithm and helps share the video with more college football fans. Lane Kiffin recently spoke with Ross Dellinger and Sports Illustrated. He was asked about a number of topics, such as how it's affecting recruiting and the dangers of how it can completely shift the culture in college football. It was a pretty lengthy article, so I obviously couldn't include everything in this video. If you guys would like to check out the full piece, I'll leave a link to it in the video description. Lane Kiffin was first asked about his thoughts on the state of NIL in college football and where things are headed. He said that players should be paid and it shouldn't be limited to their scholarship check. He added that they all shouldn't be paid equal and the top players should be earning top dollars. The major problem that Lane Kiffin had with NIL is that there isn't a system set in place to regulate everything that's going on. The collectives have no rules behind them and are allowing boosters at each program to run it however they should choose. Kiffin was then asked about NIL money persuading recruits to attend certain programs, and his answer was very eye-opening, especially hearing it come from a coach of his status. You take a 17-year-old, who, a lot of them, don't come from money and family doesn't come from money. If any person tells you that their NIL is not the number one thing, take 100 of them and ask about the number one thing that's going to make the decision. It's not the size of the stadium, not the head coach, not the campus, or the conference. The number one thing will be money. It's totally changed recruiting. I joke all the time about it. Facilities and all that. Go ahead and build facilities and these great weight rooms and training rooms, but you ain't gonna have any good players in them if you don't have NIL money. I don't care who the coach is or how hard you recruit. That is not going to win over money. And Lane Kiffin is completely right about that. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter how many championships the program's won, how many fans attend the games, how brand new the facilities are, and all the great benefits that come with being at the program. What's going to win over these recruits is going to be whoever's able to sign the biggest check at the end of the day. Lane Kiffin said that the only solution to this would be if they install a salary cap like they do in other major sports. He said that college football has turned into a professional sport, saying that players are making money, and now that there's a free agency that they can opt into, they can get out whenever they want. And how is it not being seen that, unless there are changes of rules around caps and contracts, how is every elite college player not at the end of their season entering the transfer portal? Let's be realistic. In professional sports, if you are the agent of a player and the player can opt into free agency and come back to where they want after testing the waters, who says, no, I'm not going to do that unless there's a penalty? Now, Lane Kiffin used a really good example in bringing up Heisman winning quarterback Bryce Young. He said that if you're advising Bryce Young, why wouldn't you have him put his name in the transfer portal? So Bryce Young walks into Nick Saban's office and says, hey, I want to be here, but I've got to protect myself, so I'm putting my name in the transfer portal. I don't want to leave, I want to return to Alabama, but I'm not staying unless my paycheck is matched. And Lane Kiffin is entirely right. We might see players of Bryce Young's caliber just putting their name into the transfer portal just so they can get their current school to pay them even more money. These star players are going to hold all of the leverage in college football. They're going to know what their price is and what they're worth, and they're going to make sure they get top dollar, whether it's from their current program or whether it's from a new program. Now, we may not see players like Bryce Young transfer all the time, but I really do think Lane Kiffin brings up a great point that we might see a lot of these top players simply just put their name in the transfer portal just to force their program to hand them over more money. When asked if this was sustainable, Kiffin said that you have kids going to schools now and some haven't even taken a visit. They signed because of their NILs. You've got to think that that is here to stay. To say that it's not sustainable, why? 10 years ago, no one would have said schools were going to pay coaches $10 million a year. Well, they do now. Now, Lane Kiffin did bring up an interesting point, saying that these donors are going to treat this as if they own an NFL team. They're going to keep pumping in money that goes towards the team as if they're a minority owner. Their money is essentially going to be helping fuel the product on the field. Their money's going to go towards paying the top talent in all of the country. Lane Kiffin also said that college football is essentially going to be broken down into 3 tiers. If you're in tier 1, you're in a really good spot. If you're in tier 2 or tier 3, well, essentially, you stand no chance in competing with all the other teams. Here's your 8 to 10 teams in the top tier. This is no different than what's been going on. How much money they put into recruiting, how much money they put into facilities, all of that. It's just a different way. But it's more important than all of that. It used to be okay. Those guys have had the most in the assistant coaches pool, so they could hire the best assistant coaches, or they spent more on facilities. Then you have around 8 to 25 schools in the next tier. I talked to a coach the other day in that group, and he was asking about his player in the portal. I'm explaining it to him, and he's not dealing with it all because there's no NIL at his level. I was like, God, that's gotta be so refreshing. He's just recruiting. Now, there are problems. The player is gonna get taken. But it's almost back to the purity of the game like high school football. As you go up, there's less purity. I think you've got 3 levels that are going to get really separated. People down there in the 25 to 130 level, they've got no money to give to players. And then you've got the middle ground, and then you've got the elite ones. In the recruiting process with the elite ones, coaches can't say it to recruits, but whoever is talking to recruits, they say, just know you'll get more here than anywhere else. Whatever you come back with, you'll get 20% more here. Those people are going to get the best players. I kind of talked about something similar to this in my recent video when talking about Jimbo Fisher. I talked about how he's essentially lying, saying, oh, they're not paying recruits at Texas A&M, they just happen to land the greatest recruiting class of all time. I talked about Jimbo Fisher just owning up to the entire thing and saying something similar to this. I said that he should just come out and say, here at Texas A&M, we're going to pay you 25% more than any other program. If you want to make the most money, then come to Texas A&M. That's what's being said to these recruits, and like I said, Jimbo Fisher just needs to say that publicly. Now, this next quote from Lane Kiffin was the most real quote from the entire article, and it completely sums up the danger of college football moving forward. I can recruit way better than you, or you can me, but in the end, your school offers more money, or mine does, and in the end, that's where they are going. I could have worked my butt off for 3 years, and you could have done 3 minutes. There was a player who went to his school that we got beat on, and I asked him about the relationship with the head coach. He said he never talked to him. NIL. Lane Kiffin was very open and very real about where NIL is currently at and how college football is shaping up for the future. We're still in the very early stages, so it hasn't really gotten this bad yet, but he was right with every point that he brought up. At the end of the day, recruiting is going to turn into who can pay the most money. Now, not every player at the collegiate level is going to choose their destination based on money. They might take a hometown discount or choose to go somewhere with more guaranteed playing time. But at the end of the day, college football is going to be run with programs with the largest checkbooks. I've talked about it numerous times in previous videos, but this is what scares me about college football. I think the top tier programs are going to get even stronger, making every other program that much weaker. We're not going to see star players stick with their program for 3 or 4 years anymore. We're going to see less 5-star recruits going to teams outside of the top 10. We're going to see more star players enter the transfer portal, leaving their initial program to chase a higher payday. College football was already dominated by the same 6 to 10 teams. When we need parity more than ever, it looks like we're on the verge of being further than ever before. So what are your thoughts on what Lane Kiffin had to say? Was he right or was he wrong? Do you think a lot of the points that he brought up were valid? Whatever your thoughts are on NIL and college football being affected by it, let me know in the comment section down below. If you guys haven't done so yet, now is still the perfect time to smash that subscribe button and turn on those notifications if you're new to my channel. If you love college football, then this is definitely the place for you. Also, if you could drop a like on this video, I would greatly appreciate it as well. It helps with the algorithm of the video and helps share it with more college football fans. Plus, it only takes a second to do. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.